The Federal Reserve. It is the central banking system of the United States and serves as a backup for the U.S. economy. And when they go printing money, the dollar loses its value. For most people, this is a bad thing, since their paycheck becomes worth less, but not for the wealthy. This is Rob. Rob is going to replicate what the rich are doing to not only avoid but make money with inflation. Rob is just like anyone else. He works a normal job, he pays his taxes, and lives in an average home. He also happens to have $200,000 in a savings account at the bank. Every day he watches the news and he keeps getting fed with inflation day after day. The Federal Reserve keeps printing money and it loses its value. In 2022 alone, they printed $350 billion. In 2022, in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation reached 8.5%, its highest rate since 1982. Now, Rob has had enough of this inflation crap. He is afraid that his $200,000 is gonna lose its value by the time he retires. So he thought to himself, I have to find a solution or I will retire broke. You remember the saying from Robert Kiyosaki that went like this: inflation makes the rich extremely rich. How can this be possible? I don't understand. He pulls up his laptop and does a Google search. How rich people make money with inflation. He presses enter and after a few seconds, he's got the search results. There's 5 main ways that he can find. The first way is through investing in silver and gold. Silver and gold have, through all human history, been very valuable across the entire globe. And the best thing about it? The feds can't print how much they want of it. So there will always be a limited supply of gold and silver. In fact, gold and silver actually increase in value every year, while the US dollar and other currencies tend to lose their value. At the time of this video, 1 kilogram of gold was priced at $62,500. 10 years ago, 1 kilogram of gold was priced at $44,500. Rob sits back and wonders if buying gold is the right way to go. What if someone steals it? Where would I keep it? For the amount of gold Rob would own, keeping it in a vault would be costly compared to if he had more. He thinks about it and decides to continue to do research. As Rob continues to do research, he finds out that there is a digital type of gold. You probably know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Just as with gold, no one can print it to infinity. The problem with Bitcoin, though, is that it's very volatile. But over time, I believe it will serve as an alternative digital currency and it will increase in value. As people lose faith in the dollar and the banks due to the recent bank crash, people will start to lose faith in the banking system and in the dollar overall. So where do they go to store their money? In a digital, secure currency that cannot be inflated. Rob thought to himself that cryptocurrency over time will increase in value since it instantly can be transferred across the globe for a cheap cost, and since it will serve as an alternative currency. But he wasn't satisfied just yet, so he continued to do research. The third way Rob discovered is through real estate. Let's do an example of how he would make money with inflation if he held real estate. Imagine a hypothetical example where he has $100 in the entire economy on one side and 10 houses on the other. In this hypothetical example, a single house will cost $10. But if we pour $100 extra into this market, there will be $200 but still 10 houses, which will raise house prices where a single home will cost $20. That's a simple way to understand inflation. In 2020, when the economy was on the brink of collapse, the Fed decided to throw trillions of dollars into the economy to prevent a depression by distributing stimulus checks and buying corporate bonds. 22% of US dollars that are in the market currently have been printed in 2020 alone. Anyone with a basic degree in economics understood that inflation was on its way. That's why whoever could afford a house back then immediately invested in real estate instead of holding cash, especially since interest rates were at their lowest point. It doesn't matter what the real rate of inflation is, whether it's 2.4% or 3.4%, because house prices grew by 15%, and by some estimates, even by 18 to 20%. This means real estate investors didn't just beat inflation, but also profited enormously. But the smartest investors didn't just buy houses, but also took mortgages, because leverage turns good deals into great deals, especially since interest rates were at rock bottom. The fourth way to beat inflation Rob discovered is debt. How the heck can anyone make money with debt, let alone debt and inflation together? Rob was very surprised to read about debt being a good thing, and he continued to research it. Well, debt can actually be really good in some cases. If $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, then if I borrow $1 today and return it tomorrow, I will have made a profit. Today, the median home price is around $350,000, but 20 years ago, it was around $150,000. Every year, the dollar depreciates. This means $150,000 20 years ago is worth $350,000 today. So when the Fed lowered interest rates and started buying corporate bonds, guess who started borrowing all the money? That's right, the largest companies in the world, such as Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, and so on. Although these companies did not need the money at all. Apple is sitting on a cash pile of over $200 billion, but it still borrowed money. Because why use your own money when you can just throw your money into the S&P 500 and get at least a 10% return and only borrow money at 1%? Even if you get a 5% interest on that borrowed money by investing it in your business, you're still making a 4% profit. Plus, you get all these tax benefits when you borrow money. This way, you also save on taxes. If interest rates are lower than inflation, all the money borrowed is theoretically a profit. Rob was still scared to get into debt, so he decided to look at the fifth way he could find. The fifth way Rob stumbled upon was by investing in the stock market. This is my favorite option. Stock prices may not have risen by a few thousand% as much as crypto prices, but they are also much more stable and less risky. From July 2020 to July 2021, the S&P 500 grew by 40%. That's an astronomical return, especially since you're investing in the entire U.S. economy. When you buy a stock, you are buying a part of a company. That is why they are also called shares. When there is excess cash in the economy, the value of the business increases, so you are growing together with inflation. Apart from that, money is usually spent on basic needs and wants, which means for businesses grow faster. So you don't only beat inflation, but rather benefit from it. Imagine for a moment how much of the stimulus checks were spent on Apple or Amazon. If you also consider that these companies borrowed billions of dollars almost free and grew exponentially. And when people started going back to work, the economy reopened, people spent more, and these companies will grow even faster. The most important thing is to keep invested money in assets hedged against inflation. Rich people usually don't have a lot of cash. They usually keep a small portion of their net worth liquid in case of an emergency. Take the richest people in the world. They are so rich because they own a percentage of the companies they build. As their businesses grow, so does their wealth. Rob had now gained tons of new knowledge and was now ready to start investing against inflation. He closes down his laptop and starts thinking about what he should do to beat inflation. He decides that he will put $50,000 into Bitcoin and the rest as a 50% down payment for a piece of real estate that he will rent out. Fast forward 30 years, Rob is retired with a piece of real estate worth $700,000 plus $300,000 that he got from renting it out. He also has $150,000 in Bitcoin and can now retire way richer than he would have if he had just saved the money.